It's Friday morning before work, and I did a little bit of a workout this morning on Zwift. Just a spin, 50-ish minutes with some little efforts in there to try to get my legs prepared for this weekend. It is the Speedy 36-mile race, gravel race at the Fast Fitty event. My heart and lungs and all that stuff, the fitness there feels really good. The legs still are carrying quite a bit of fatigue. So, side note, I've been sort of learning how to juggle. And when you learn how to juggle, you kind of just have to juggle anything that you see that's juggleable. An apple and 2 lemons. Huh? So I brought up the weather here for where we're going to be starting out the race, and it looks like we'll have a wind out of the south, very light, 3 to 4 miles an hour. We bring up the course map for the Speedy course of the Fast 50, or Fast Fitty rather, and you'll see we start out heading west and south, and then we end up heading north. We'll have a tailwind there, then east, and we actually finish coming back into that light headwind. Now the course is 36.19 miles according to Strava, about 1,000 feet of elevation gain. My girlfriend and I are doing separate things this weekend, so she won't be at the race, but we're taking the same car on different adventures essentially, so we both need to pack everything in here. And I've been very gracious and given her loads of space. Here's my stuff, and this is where her stuff can go. The Fast Fitty adventure has officially begun. We're in the Airbnb. By we're, I mean me. Look at this art. Favorite art I've seen in an Airbnb so far. Beautiful. Love it. Amazing. Check out this coffee. The coffee options here. I forgot to bring my coffee. Now I'm an instant coffee kind of guy, but look at this. In the morning, I'm just gonna spin it. I'm just gonna spin it and see which one my finger lands on.
Good morning. It's race day, and this morning is a prime example of why I need my girlfriend with me, because she was busy yesterday getting ready for her adventure, and I didn't bring other clothes. Alright, whatever. It's time to see what kind of coffee we're having this morning. Alright, ready, go. My girlfriend never would have let that happen.
We're here, we're doing the thing. We've got like an hour until the race starts. I'm feeling confident today. I feel good, my legs feel great, and I want to be aggressive. I really do. To get to the start of today's gravel race, we're going to ride through this wooded trail. It's kind of a nice section. You get to decompress a little bit, let some of the anxiety of the race start fall away. There are 3 different races happening here, 54, 36, and 19 mile. Here's a couple of 19-mile riders, Don and Brian, looking good. They do great in their event today.
2, 1. Go have a great race, guys. Thank you so much.
Now, upon arriving at the start line, there was a meeting, and the announcer explained that all 3 distances would be leaving together. That was not what I had expected, so I was further back, allowing the 54-milers to take off first. But since we're all starting off together, I did try to weasel my way up into the group a little bit more, but you can see I'm still pretty far off the front. And this was a common theme in 2021, and it feels like I'm reliving it. I'm here at this race today doing the 36 instead of the 54 because the Michigan Gravel Race Series has forced me to do long races all year. Not forced, but that's the division I've chosen, and I've been struggling. So I wanted to go back to the 2021 style of racing that middle distance. And right now, I'm trying to charge up through the field and get my eyes on that front of the race, make sure I don't miss any splits, just have a good idea of what's going on, because I'm doing the 36. I should be stronger than I was last year, and I want to ride with the front today. We're gonna make our first turn onto some gravel, and here we get a look at the first bit of washboards for the day. So washboards are these little bumps created by cars as they're braking, as I understand it, and it makes it difficult to put out power, but there is a silver lining. There are lines on this road where you won't have to deal with the washboard quite as much. However, if you look at this rider on the right-hand side in the white, this is actually Sam. We ended up talking after the race. You can see his arms and body are just being vibrated to death. Here on this first pavement climb, this is where the first bit of separation takes place for the day, and I was welcoming this. I wanted to get out of the big nervous group and get into a little bit smaller peloton, something that I could feel more comfortable in. The issue is after we'd have an effort up that hill, or a hill like that, we would then slow down. Kind of a natural thing, right, in bike racing. It would slow down, everybody would catch back up and swarm around us. But that's okay, because eventually, riders do fall off, slowly but surely. Some more washboards here. People are going to start losing some bottles. It gets a little bit hectic for a second. Pretty deep washboards there. Somebody actually hit that bottle. I always wondered what would happen if you'd hit a bottle out on the road. Apparently nothing, but now I know. 7.7 miles in, we've got our first gravel climb of the race. Again, looking forward to this because the smaller this group is, the better I feel about putting out power and maneuvering around it. You can see we're making up some ground on some other riders here. Now this guy here on the other Grail 7 in the race, same bike as what I'm on right now, I've been really close to him for pretty much the majority of this first part of this race. So if I was near him, I knew I was doing well because he was moving through the field the same as I was. Now this is the max heart rate I'm going to see for today, 190. But at the time, at this point in the race, I would have told you this wasn't that big of an effort. Because later in the race, things are going to get way more difficult. So just a little over a mile later, I look back right here, and I'm the last one on this group. You're going to get a good look at the group here as we make this sweeping turn. It's still fairly sizable, but I can tell you now that the only people in here are 54-mile riders and 36-mile riders. And we're cruising. It's been a pretty hard pace for the last mile or so. This is the point where we split. The 54 milers go straight, 36 milers go right, and a little bit of a confusion there. Now, this is probably a smart thing to do for the front of the 36 mile racers, right? You're going to go hard as you can because people like me have gotten caught up in the confusion of which way to go, and you could probably get rid of us a little bit easier. That's a little bit frustrating because I have to do this big effort to catch back on, and it hurts. It really puts some fatigue in the legs, but I'm closing down this gap, getting back to the group, and I really have to. The impetus here is that the group that I was just in has shrunk by half, and we didn't have to do that big of an effort to do that because it's just a change in the course. So if I can get back to the group and get eyes on who is still here and how many riders there are, I might have a pretty good shot of finishing in like the top 10, which is kind of the goal for the day. So I make my way back, but it's still fast. It's still hard. They're still pushing the pace, and I'm worried about getting dropped. At this point in the race, with how fast it's been, I can tell that some riders are going to start to have trouble and that I need to be in front of them. So I take this left side line, which it doesn't look so bad in the video, but it was pretty choppy out there on that side of the road, and I make my way up, not too far in front of the pack here, but just nearer to the middle, I suppose. And this is where I want to settle in for a while. We just come down this really fast hill doing 35 miles an hour. I'm totally spun out. And then we hit the face of a hill going up, and I want to carry all that speed that I can to get back to the group as it had strung out a bit on the downhill. Now we've only got 14 miles left. It would be a shame to get dropped at this point, so I'm trying to stay tight to these riders' wheels, but there are gaps opening up. But fortunately we have a downhill, and that's sort of how this race plays out, and the front of races in general is it's hard and then you relax, then it's hard and you relax. This was another hill after I'd gotten back to the group. This right side of the road was sandy, so I'm putting out loads of power, getting squirrely, squishing in, kind of wasting energy over there, but I couldn't move left. there was riders there, so I just have to push through it, stay on the gas, and try to stay tight to these other riders. This would be a really, really great point to lose people off the back if that front were to push. And they do to a certain extent, but there were enough people in the middle of the group to cover those gaps, and again, another downhill where we all get to coast and recover. I had been paying attention to the course map prior to this race, and around 25 miles I knew that there had been some ups and downs, so I thought we had just gotten done with one of the bigger climbs, the one that you had just seen. So I'm taking a drink, I'm going to have a gel, but the problem is I'm not paying enough attention to what's happening up in front of the rider in front of me. I'm really just looking at his wheel. And what's taking place is there are attacks happening. You see this rider on the right, he's going to be dropped, but this rider from the Scenario Auto Club group and myself are also getting dropped. We're only 11 miles from the finish. If I could just finish with that front group, that's really all that I want at this point, but that gap is huge, right? Now this rider's going to look back here in just a moment. Right here, he turns over his right and he sees that's it. That's all he's got. So when I saw him turn over, I knew I was going to have to try to solo this effort. Over 400 watts, out of the saddle, riding as hard as I can at the moment, 188 beats per minute. And I'm closing this down. I am making up ground on this group, but we are coming into the base of another hill, and they're about to go again. So I don't have any time to rest. I'm down into the 180s for wattage just for a moment, and then way back up on the gas. I blame this effort for not being able to remember this next 5-mile section of the race. I was completely all in to stay in the front group here. And only 2 miles later, it takes me a long time to figure this out because I'm having trouble just counting how many people there are in front of me. But there's only 6 riders in front of me. We're doing 30 miles an hour, and I'm here. I am top 7. Now as we come through this turn, Sam, the rider in white, goes a little wide. It's okay, he's a mountain biker, he knows what he's doing. And don't worry, he's actually going to catch us, which, mind-blowing. But this is the point where the race takes a turn that I've never experienced before. It's where we basically coast, sit up, do nothing, and then all in effort. And then we'll sit up, do nothing, and then all in effort. You can see right here is one of those times where you're on the gas, somebody's putting in a lot of work to try to get rid of some of us, and it hurts, right? But with that being said, then we have a big recovery. So it's a really unique situation I've never experienced. And look who's here. The rider on the other Grail 7 is right in front of me. Now we've got 2 riders from Athletic Mentors, a rider from Spin, a base media rider, the guy on the Grail 7 in front of me, myself, and then Sam, who is going to catch up. And somehow I end up finding myself second wheel in this group, which I'll be honest with you, these guys were putting in bigger pulls for longer. But I did want to experience again what it's like to be on the front of a race, even for a couple of moments. And that feeling is amazing. Just to say that I was there this deep into a race feels so good, and it's a step in the right direction. So we'll get a look here to see who's all there. It's Sam, the Spin rider, the Athletic Mentor rider, base media, Grail 7 guy, and then I almost ran into the other Athletic Mentor guy. I look back, he wasn't there, and he's like, hey, so apologies to him for nearly taking him and I out. My bad. Again, 500 watts. This is super punchy efforts here. But look, 0 watts. We're chilling. Just relaxing. They're going to have a drink. And it goes from that to big punches again. 400 watts. Again, slow, easy, looking around, playing games. And honestly, I'll tell you, I love this kind of racing. This is super fun for me, especially not really having been able to do this much. If you're not on the front or not in the front group, you're always chasing. There's an impetus to ride together and work together, but at the front, you're not working together, you're trying to get rid of each other. And that is a blast to play that game. Again, I find myself on second wheel here, and this rider has been doing a big pull, big turn, 27, 26 miles an hour. And we're only a couple miles from the finish of this race, so I put in a punch, 700 watts. And I feel a little embarrassed about these attacks afterwards, because when I look back behind me, these other riders aren't phased at all. They were on the wheel. I don't even know if I ever had a gap. And then they roll through, and it hurts. It hurts to try to stay rolling after an attack with how strong these guys are pulling through. So 2 miles from the finish, I can guarantee that I at least have 7th place, and that is, or was the goal, top 10. Less than 2 miles from the finish, under 200 watts, my heart rate's come down, getting in some recovery, feeling good, and I know somebody's gonna go. When it's this slow, somebody's gonna get excited and try to hurt the rest of the group. And the spin rider has been doing loads of work all day, so it only makes sense. Look at this, seated, he puts in an acceleration like that. It takes me up to almost 700 watts to cover that, and I cannot do that in the saddle. I don't know how people do that. So I find a wheel, I settle in, and once you get up to speed and you're on a wheel, you don't have to work quite as hard, but that initial surge is a lot. This is the final right turn back onto that paved road that we had initially come out on, and we're still all here, all 7 of us, and I know I can't outsprint these guys, so I have to do something special. So as we get back up to speed around 18 miles an hour, it slows way down, power comes way down, I attack. I have to attack because this is the only shot I have, 900 watts. I get up to almost 30 miles an hour right away, and I'm gonna try to hold this all the way to the finish. Heart rate's way up, and then I look back and they're all still there. I would love to know how they covered that so easily, because that was the biggest punch that I could have thrown. And now, unfortunately, as I slowly roll backwards here, they are going to keep that pace high. And then there goes the base media rider. The spin guy's ready to cover it. The group's ready. The only person who's not ready is me. I did spike up there to 700 watts, but it's not going to do it if I can't sustain it, and they're going to get away from me. I have been dropped. So here's a sped up look at how much of the race was left after I'd gotten dropped. It wasn't much, only like a mile. But we end up rolling in for 7th place, and arguably my best finish ever in any bike race I've ever done. I roll by the guys that were in the front group, tell them all a great job, that I had fun in the race, and that's pretty much the end. So this was the top 3, the spin rider, base media, and one of the Athletic Mentors riders, and then myself and Sam end up on the age group for the 18 to 29 podium. Just got back home after the Fast Fitty, the Speedy edition, and I've already done the hard parts of wrapping up a gravel race. Because it's not all fun and games after you're done, right? Like, you're done, and then you've got to start this whole new phase of work. Lube the chain, right away, clean it up. But now I've got to take all the crap that was inside this car and put it inside this house and then process it, right? Because depending on when your next race is, you might actually have to actually take care of this stuff. And my next race is long enough away that I actually need to take care of it. So. I'm tired. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.